So I wanted to share with everybody a little bit of a Dharma practice work in progress that's been going on probably for about a decade. And it came up just thinking about the BBC yesterday on, I think, trying to rejoice that there's been some changes in my mind over the past year since I've been practicing the Dharma. I really wanted to acknowledge that in myself and kind of share a little bit about the process. And the retreat really brings out for me more directly on the things that I really have to work on. So, since the very, very beginning, I've come to acknowledge that I've had this huge intolerance for others' bad behavior. I've had a huge intolerance for other people's afflictive states of mind, whether they're individuals, whether they're groups, whether they're nations, whether they're communities, and being so blinded by my own ignorance to even see that I have any faults, that this has carried through so much of my life. And I always wondered if I had a particular kind of arrogance. I know my list of top 5 afflictions, but I've never put arrogance as one of them, or conceit. And so I've been thinking about this intolerance. It's either around people's behavior, it's about their practices, it's about their philosophies, it's about their beliefs. And as I go through this, and I don't have to be with you more than 15 seconds before this intolerance starts to show up. And so, and it comes with this, the judgmental mind, which we think and we practice about finding antidotes for in this community. And the Buddha's teachings is a huge antidote to the judgmental mind. But how much this has driven my relationship to my life and to the world and the people that I meet, and that it boxes them in and it boxes me in. And so I have, with these preconceptions or misconceptions, if I see somebody who I think is behaving badly on whatever scale that is, this judgmental mind kicks in. I put them into a very solidly, inherently existent box of which they are simply jerks, butt heads from their own side, never to be able to be changed, and that this righteous indignation, and that I somehow am above this kind of behavior. And I have found this to be one of the greatest creators of my own suffering that I have ever been able to sort of look at very, very directly. And it has also kept me, what it does is it brings up a huge aversion in me, so that I don't want to have any part of my relationship to them. And this works very, very clear and very painfully by living in community. If I have a struggle with somebody's behavior or their afflictive states of mind, my judgmental mind puts me outside of them. It has such a strong aversion that I simply disengage. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to make eye contact. And on a grander scale, it's like I have all sorts of judgments about communities and about organizations, about companies, that I don't have any, there's no redeeming qualities. And is what the Buddha has said and what Venerable have taught is that when I have this kind of judgmental mind and this intolerance, I see absolutely no kindness. I see absolutely none of their redeeming qualities. And I'm done with them. And I have been working with this particular mind, I see going on, at the Abbey here, I've had to look at it because I've had this relationship to members of the community, and it has caused so much suffering in my mind and so much suffering in relationship to these folks who have been living with me. And so this particular retreat gave me a little bit of an overview, and the Varsa has been very helpful because this judgmental mind has got to be reined in. I can't point, I can't blame, I can't criticize, I can't judge, because the retreat, the Varsa says, watch your own mind. You don't go there. And so this winter, there was a day that I walked in the forest that I got to realize that I'm doing better. First of all, the Varsa got me to see that my mind in relationship to other people's difficult states of mind is not as personal as I had thought it. I can see that after all these years, that when somebody in the community is struggling, that there's a little bit of space for me to let them have that. That I don't have to fix them, I don't have to condemn them, I don't have to judge them. I never knew how little compassion I had in my own mind for people who were struggling. And of course it reflects back to me with this mirror saying, how much compassion do you have for yourself, Samke, when you're struggling? And I saw that there was a huge similarity between that. And it's only been in the past few years that I've been giving myself some sort of self-acceptance, saying, you've got these really afflictive states of mind, and you just don't want to be with yourself. But instead of trying to find the antidote, I just beat myself up forever. And I do the same thing with people in the community. I do the same thing with my family, neighbors that don't like me, whatever. So, and not being able to see their kindness or see the fact that all of us want to be happy and not suffer. That has become one of the most profound driving practices in my life, is that I've got to be able to see that. And if I can say that about myself and I can say that about other people, my whole relationship to them opens up. So this past winter, Venerable Sotram and I took a walk in the forest, and we had heard that there was going to be some logging adjacent to our property. There's a very large logging conglomerate that owns quite a bit of acreage around us, and they have access through our property. And these are sort of the ultimate metaphor for the ones that I judge most harshly, are these anonymous entities called logging companies that I can judge to my heart's delight. I can hate them, I can have all this aversion, I could wish that they just disappear, that they get all sorts of, I've thought some horrible things about them. Is that walking in the forest and coming around, we came up a rise, and this company has been working for the past 4 months on this 200-acre site, and to come up on the rise and to see what they've done, and to not have, for the first time maybe since I've moved here, to not have this going ballistic, cranking it up into judgment, condemnation, I can't believe it, what the hell are they think they're doing? And me standing up above all of this, just saying, we don't have these kind of practices. What were they thinking? How could they? How could they? How could they? I just can't believe it. And I stood there with Venerable Sotram looking at this, and I went right to the place of trying to see it differently. And what happened was, first of all, I think about all the lumber that we have used in this community to build the Abbey. And it doesn't have to come from across the country. It comes from 15 miles away, where this same company takes its wood, goes down to the mill, they put it into 2x6s, 2x4s, and they put it into the Albany Falls hardware store lumber lot. So the interdependence, the fact that we are the beneficiaries of their practices, was the first thing that helped me kind of tone myself down. The second one is that there is a state, it's called the Forest Practice Act. It's been going on for decades in this state. Every state has one. They're put together by farmers, ranchers, logging companies, business people, environmentalists, politicians, and they all have got to sort of figure out what's going to work for everybody. We're included in that under certain kind of forest procedures, as is this company. And according to that practice, they have followed this. All right, that's the second thing. The third thing is that I personally have a relationship with 3 of the foresters who work for this company. They're people that I have known. One of them I've known for almost 11 years. She's worked her way through these companies who have bought this piece of land that had been purchased. Large logging companies selling to next large logging company, selling to the next one. She has been the forester for all of them. And what came up when I was standing overlooking this site is I remember her saying, I looked at her one day and I said, it was sort of a little bit of a prick, I said, it's so nice to know, or I can be reassured that you can sleep at night working for this company. And she looked me square in the face and she said, you know what, Samke, I can sleep at night working for this company. Now I know her paradigm is different. All right? But the fact that she could say that to me And the other two foresters who worked for them used to work for the state, and they said, we can't work from too much red tape, too much bureaucracy, we don't get paid for the knowledge that we have. And they get sort of, invited to work for these companies, and they bring their expertise, they bring their experience, they get paid for what they do, they say they're rewarded well for their expertise. Now, the paradigm might not fit for me, because looking at this site, you can see some of the Forest Practice Acts that they implemented. The huge wetlands that they have on this property have all been protected. There's no cutting anywhere near these wetlands, no cutting near these ponds, no cutting near the streams. It doesn't mean, one of the things that I have to come to understand is that by reining in my judgmental mind and this intolerant mind that I have, doesn't mean that I have to condone the behavior of others or the behavior of these companies. What it does is talks about my relationship to myself, because I'm not going to be able to engage them if I'm far too upset and far too adverse to have anything to do with them. So I was able to look at the site. I'm going to walk around all over it just to see how I could work with my mind. What did they do here that was helpful? And there's got to be something in there. We are the beneficiaries of their efforts. So who are we? We're part of the cause and effect, the causality of why they do what they do. And to see that they're not inherently evil, bad people, companies coming from their own side. So the fact that I didn't go ballistic coming over the ridge was a good sign. And I'm continuing to work on my mind, trying to see that just like us, they want to be happy and not suffer. Every member in this community that I have difficulty with is just wanting to be happy and not suffer. And if I can have some compassion for my own afflictive, crazy mind, I think that it will generally grow my compassion to be able to honor, to embrace, and to engage everybody who has an afflictive state of mind that's manifesting at any given time, whether it's a logging company or whether it's one of my community members, and everything in between. So this has been a Dharma practice for the past 10 years living here, and I know it's been before. It's helping me look at my pride, my arrogance, my judgmental mind, my hatred, my lack of fortitude, and my self-centered thought. And so it's been really quite a profound process, and I'm sure it's going to continue. I want it to continue. I want to be even clearer and even stronger in how I look at my own afflictive states of mind. But anyway, that's what's been going on in Semke's mind for the past while, and hopefully it'll continue in a good way.